It's 11:47 p.m. Robert is sitting on the edge of his bed, phone in hand, thumb hovering over his banking app. He already knows the number, but he checks anyway. $3,842. And the weird part? Robert isn't broke. He has a decent job, pays his rent, covers his bills, maybe even grabs takeout a little more often than he admits. From the outside, everything looks fine. But inside, there's this low, persistent hum of anxiety. Because deep down, he knows something uncomfortable. He's in his 30s now, and that first $100,000 everyone talks about still feels very far away. Maybe you've had a moment like that. You open your account, you do the quick mental math, you tell yourself, okay, next year I'll really get serious. Yeah, I know that moment really well. Because here's the thing most people in their 30s don't realize. Building your first $100,000 isn't about some genius investment. It's not about being perfect. And honestly, it's usually not even about your income. It's about a handful of small behaviors, quietly compounding in the background while you're busy living your life. And once you see them, you can't unsee them.
Why your 30s are financially dangerous and powerful. Your 30s are weird. Seriously. You're not brand new to adulthood anymore, but you're also not financially set. This is the decade where life gets expensive. Rent upgrades, car upgrades, better vacations, maybe a wedding, maybe kids, maybe just lifestyle creep that happens so slowly you didn't even notice. And here's what most Americans underestimate. A report from the Federal Reserve found that nearly 40% of Americans would struggle to cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. Think about that for a second. Not $4,000, $400. And the reason isn't always low income. It's usually friction, leakage, unnoticed spending drift. You know how it happens. You tell yourself, it's just $18, it's just this one subscription, it's just this upgrade. Individually, harmless, but over years, quietly expensive. Small numerical example. Michael spends an extra $9 a day on convenience. $9 times 365 days equals $3,285 per year. In 10 years, that's over $32,000 gone. Nothing dramatic, just drift. And before you push back, because I know you might be thinking, okay, but I'm not wasting money every day. Fair point. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't feel the leak while it's happening. It feels normal. It feels deserved. It feels invisible. The 100K milestone nobody explains properly. You've probably heard the phrase, the first 100K is the hardest. And yeah, it sounds cliché, but it's actually backed by math. In the early stage of wealth building, your money isn't doing much of the heavy lifting yet. You are. Your habits are. Your consistency is. A well-known analysis from Fidelity Investments showed that consistent savers who automated their contributions were significantly more likely to reach six figures earlier, not because they earned dramatically more, but because they removed decision fatigue. Translation in normal human language? They stopped negotiating with themselves every month. And here's what most Americans underestimate. You might be accidentally slowing yourself down because, think about it, how often have you said, I'll save what's left at the end of the month? Be honest, you've said it, we all have. And you already know what usually happens. There is no left, there's just life. Quick example. Michael plans to save whatever remains. End of month leftover, $73. After 1 year, barely $876 saved. Not because he failed, because the system failed. And once you flip this, everything starts moving differently.
The psychological trap of feeling behind. Let's talk about something nobody likes to admit: comparison. Because in your 30s, it gets loud. You see friends buying homes, coworkers talking investments, people online posting wins, and suddenly your perfectly normal financial situation starts feeling inadequate. A long-running study from Princeton University found something fascinating. Beyond roughly $75,000 in income, increases in income had diminishing returns on day-to-day emotional well-being. In simple terms, more income didn't automatically equal more daily happiness. But you know what did increase stress? Financial instability and uncertainty. Not the number, the unpredictability. And this is where your first 100K becomes psychologically powerful, because it does something subtle but life-changing. It creates breathing room. Not luxury, not yachts. Breathing room. You know that feeling when your car makes a weird noise and your stomach drops? Yeah, that feeling starts to fade once your financial buffer grows. And that's why this milestone matters more than most people think. Real investing examples that actually build the first 100K. Okay, let's get practical, because at some point your savings need somewhere productive to go. Michael eventually realized that leaving everything in a basic checking account wasn't going to move the needle fast enough. So he did what many disciplined investors in the US quietly do. He started simple. Broad market exposure, low fees, long-term mindset. For example, many beginners start with index funds that track the S&P 500, like Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, VOO, or the SPDR S&P 500 ETF Trust, SPY. Why? Because historically, the S&P 500 has averaged roughly around 10% annually over long periods, not every year, but over decades. That matters, because compounding needs time and consistency more than brilliance. Michael also diversified gradually. He added exposure to total market funds like Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, VTI. Later, and only after his core investing habit was stable, he experimented with small positions in large established companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. Not chasing hype, not day trading, just steady ownership of productive businesses. And yeah, you might be thinking, okay, but what if the market drops? Fair question. It will, sometimes sharply. But historically, long-term investors who stayed invested in diversified U.S. index funds recovered and continued growing over time. The key wasn't timing, it was staying in the game. Small example. Michael invests $500 per month into an S&P 500 fund. Average long-term return assumption about 8%. After 10 years, portfolio approximately $91,000. No stock-picking genius required, just time plus consistency. The lifestyle upgrade that slows almost everyone. Now let's talk about the real villain of your 30s. Lifestyle inflation. And this one is sneaky, because it doesn't feel irresponsible. It feels earned. You get a raise, you upgrade the apartment, upgrade the car, upgrade the subscriptions, upgrade the travel. And look, none of this is wrong. You're allowed to enjoy your life, seriously. But the danger shows up when your fixed expenses quietly expand to match your income ceiling. Because then something subtle happens. Your saving rate freezes, even while your income grows. And years pass, and you wonder why the net worth chart feels flat. Michael nearly fell into this exact trap. His salary increased, but for a while, so did everything else. Until he made one quiet rule. Half of every raise goes to investing. Simple, but powerful. The turning point most people miss. Here's where the shift usually happens. Not when someone learns more about investing, not when they find a better app, not when they read their 10th finance book. It usually happens during a quiet moment of awareness. You open your accounts, you really look, not casually, not quickly,
actually look, and something clicks. You realize your money has been moving without a clear plan. Not disastrously, just loosely. And from that moment forward, your behavior changes in small, almost invisible ways. You pause more before purchases. You automate sooner. You tolerate less financial chaos. And these changes, they compound faster than any stock pick.
The quiet shift that changes everything. If there's one thing I hope stays with you after this conversation, it's this. Building your first 100K in your 30s is rarely about brilliance. It's about awareness. It's about small systems that run when your motivation disappears. It's about catching lifestyle creep before it becomes permanent. And most importantly, it's about realizing you are probably much closer than you think once your habits start pulling in the same direction. You don't need perfection. You don't need extreme frugality. And you definitely don't need to feel behind. You just need a few quiet shifts, repeated consistently. So the next time you open your banking app, and you will, don't just glance and close it. Pause. Look. Ask yourself one honest question. Is my current system quietly building my first 100K or quietly delaying it? Because once you see the pattern, you can finally start bending it in your favor. And honestly, that's where things start getting interesting.
If this helped you see your money a little differently, hit subscribe because we're just getting started. And remember, small moves today build quiet wealth tomorrow.